done with like a hawk and then a double round, so usually like a hawk, and then maybe like two horizontal cuts. Again, around the head, I use the Italian definition of having a tondo as kind of a bit of proof that we can have, a round as a cut. But again, it's all just speculation, making stuff up. We don't really know exactly what these actions are. So let me get to a few of the more confusing ones, such as rakes. So rakes are more unknown. We do have a raking action for sweating, describing a pulling action. So the thought with rakes, a lot of people do rakes as rising cuts. I think the main thing is that it's like a pull kind of drawing action. You're kind of raking it across the body. Think of it like raking claws or anything like that, right? Because it says in the manual, you can do rakes both up and down. So it does make sense. Rising cuts naturally have that pulling motion. So it'll be the same thing. I'm just kind of probably pulling it to my body. So you have your downwards cuts, regular downwards cuts. You have the ones that kind of point down first, compared to just like if I'm doing big ones over the shoulder, those are my hawks. The corner blows kind of stay in front of my body. Your roundies, over there. And then your rakes can just be pulling cuts, drawing cuts. And then you have what English Longsword is a little more famous for. You have foins. So foin is just a word for thrust. I don't know how it eventually changed the thrust, but foin is a thrust. So then you have, so what English Longsword, people know it a little more for is actually some one-handed stuff. So you have two that are theorized. Again, none of this is proven. There's just, you kind of go through all the actions and you find these words and you're like, what's left? Like, I guess one-handed stuff. Because there's some method mentioned of like, do it with your left hand. You're like, okay, yes. So you get a snatch, which is just one-handed swipe to the leg or something like that. Like, get a parry and then snatch to get out. Then you have a spring, so you can spring with the left hand or with the right hand. So that's just basically a short, quick thrust. So those are basically most of the actions from the Harleyan. That's what I've mostly worked from. Con Titus has, I think, a roebuck, which I have no idea what it is. I don't think anyone has any idea what it is. Some people think it's like a Windows guard or a Hux guard because they're like, oh, it's buck antlers. that's the only version I've heard. I'm like, can't debate say you're wrong, but we can't say you're right because nobody knows. And then you have, in an additional manuscript, you have a lot of what's called rabbits. And then what they have from there is they have it as a rebeats, basically a false edge here. They have that action. But I haven't done a lot of work from additional, and what I have seen doesn't agree with that because you have some for positions that don't work from here. If I'm fencing up here, I can't get this action unless I do a big disengage around. I don't agree with that one. I got to do some research on that eventually, but like I said, Harley is one that I've done a lot of work on. Except there is 3 other sources we can use. So I'll go over the 3 other sources real quick, and we'll start actually. Basically, I kind of just pulled a few lessons from the sources, just kind of give you an idea of a little bit of feel from all the different sources. So the other 3 sources we have are basically broadsword sources, actual English sources. So we have George Silver. Anyone know George Silver? So George Silver is notorious for hating rapiers. And everyone he was like mostly, like everyone I know him, a lot of them are in rapiers. I don't like rapiers, so I'm a little more on George Silver's side. So everyone's like, I hate George Silver, and I'm like, he's alright. Yeah, he hates rapiers, but it's all in context of in the time period, the Italians were coming over, and their mindset was like, you slighted me, we're going to have a rapier duel, and I'm going to kill you, and it's a little more suicidal. It's just, you try to kill them. Where I find like the English system of fighting is a lot more like, you have a fight, I'm going to whack you across the head with my broadsword, and then we're going to go back to the farm and finish our job, finish our work. So you had the Italians coming and teaching this method of fencing that Silver hates, where he basically says it's just getting all the Englishmen killed, they're just going around and stabbing each other. That's beside the point. One thing Silver says that kind of helps us keep going with English Longsword and make a bit of a system out of it. If you don't use just the old sources, you can use Silver, Joseph Swetman. So Silver 1699, 1603. Joseph Swetman, 1611. Zachary Wild, 1617 is Swetnam, and 1711. So Swetnam's, George Silver has a section on longsword, and in longsword there's basically one sentence, and he says, you said like you'd use your quarterstaff. And then now you're like, oh, that's interesting. So now you take the quarterstaff sections from Swetnam, Silver, and Wild and apply it to longsword. Because Old English quarterstaff is done just imagine a giant longsword. One hand's here, the other hand's here. Your pad guards here, your fencing here. And they use a lot of hanging guards with the quarterstaff as well. So that could be a bit more of a English thing using fighting drum, what's called pendant. I don't really like hanging guards, but it's like better with quarterstaff. Because you're probably not like immediately die if someone does get through. But I find with sharp weapons, I don't like using hanging guards. So we'll get geared up. I'll go through a couple plays of parleying. I think I got a play from additional manuscripts, and then we'll go through some of the more Swetnam, Silver, and Wild. They actually have some actual plays that are more useful. And then yeah, so let's say let's get geared up. So, an example, so this is like a lesson on Harleyan, where, like I said, it's just a bunch of gibberish, a bunch of these techniques that I said. Basically just try to put them all together in a line and say, okay, how can I make this work? So this is what we're going to be doing, not this one here, but just to get an idea. So this one says, the fourth lesson is a chase met with a half round with 2 cock steps, a quarter with the stop, a hawk with the chase point, with the stroke aventure smitten on 3 feet, and made up with a rake down with figure up with a double hawk, and so smite like stroke aventure up on both feet.
Sounds like 2 fencers being like, but then I do this. Yeah, well I do this.
Yeah, like it's just there's one where it's literally like do a rake and then do a double rake and then more rakes and rake again and do a double rake and you're like that's like 7, 8 rakes in a row. You're like whatever this action is, you're not gonna do 7 or 8 in a row, like just start fencing. So there is one set of lessons that I interpreted that are just simple, they're like one line, and then I made them work, and I'm like, hey, these actually kind of work. So they're like my go-tos for Harleyan, because everything else is literally just like, if I taught you one lesson, like try to go through it and doing a 2-hour class of like I said, like a choreography, it's literally just tons and tons of lessons, tons and tons of actions. So this one's called lesson 7, is smite a hawk cross over the elbow to the backstop, and so smite it on the feet. So like the shortest line of Harleyan. So our hawk is our downwards action. Our hawks are downwards cut. So our hawk cross, and he says cross over the elbows, so I'm going to cross with my elbows. So I do it. And smite it on the feet. So it's kind of like where does it get to, right? So the way I put it is that if I'm someplace and he basically attacks me, and he comes in with a step, attacks, I cross over his sword, I can hit him in the leg by crossing over the elbows. So it's kind of basically just a parry, cross the arms, and then hit the leg. And then from there, however I have it, typically the sword can't hit mine. So that's one of the ones where I'm like, hey, if his sword's there, I do my hawk, I cross the elbows, smite it on the foot, oh, that hits his leg, like it kind of hits all the points. So I'm like, hey, this one might actually work. So just the attack, parry, cross the elbows, just turning the sword, and yeah, hit the leg. So it's a fairly simple one to begin with. So I start with that. Again, the opponent, you're just going to pass it at the cut. You're going to get his sword, cross the elbows, go for the leg. Give that a try.
I'll attack first.
Don't do it without a step. You don't want to get close to his blade. But if you do it without the step, right, you can still go with his leg. Try to do it without a step. You don't want to get close to him. If he's coming into your distance. Yeah, if he's coming into with an attack to your distance, you don't want to step into it. attack with a pass.
Yeah. Oh, like, well, across the elbow.
You want me to do this for you?
Yeah.
Okay, your turn. Cross your elbows.
So usually passing in, that's when you use that front leg to charge it.
Oh,
So I'm here, right? And now that's a target. Now when you do that, right? You should be able to hit you without actually passing it yourself. You're just facing my sword with the right hand.
Taking the blade, cat, sometimes goes too far, then my weak son will they've got to like stay down, get it around underneath here.
That's definitely fair. Stand where you are.
It's still very high. Like you want to be here so you can take the blade.
Oh, it's so long.
Yeah. Raise your arm. Now you're taking the blade, right?
I was aiming too long.
Oh, that's hard to keep going on the loop. Step into one more. Here, I can step into that.
I think it doesn't really do anything unless you're up here.
My turn? It's a carry first.
So try parrying. Instead of parrying so close far over here. You're missing a few times, so if I'm with you here, you attack, right? Don't try to parry here because you so easily can feint that, right? I still want to parry with my point forward. So when he attacks, I'm going to be parrying here, right?
You should be able to get it.
Or I have the line. Like I could probably end up doing something like that. But with the English, I'm just taking it and just driving it down, right? So it's something where maybe it's like where I'm like, oh, I think he's gonna be really heavy, and he's not. And then all of a sudden, I just take a sword and I'm like, oh wait, never mind. That actually wasn't hard to go through. But you just carry through the leg, something like that, right? So try not to parry too tightly here. Try to parry more than coming out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you want. And now put it down.
Keep going.
Yeah, that's it.
It all flows. Like you grab the lead, you go over the top, take the blade and you cut.
Right, so if we look at the context of something like this, right? I always want to look at the context. And sometimes you don't see something that's happen often, right? Like, but if you're fencing someone, say, and I'm like, oh man, I know exactly, like, just get in there with the vine, and I'm like, I gotta, you know, maybe someone's like, I'm gonna get in there a little more forcefully, and he goes really soft. All of a sudden, I'm like, oh wait, I've done that. Now I can just instead of getting to nothing, maybe I'm like, oh well, I've done that. Maybe I'm gonna bring it to the leg instead. So it could be something where you're trying to win the line against him, and he's got really soft. Instead of just going to nothing, just keep going away. So Harley continues on with this. So the 8th lesson is with a hawk cross smitten with a backstop formed with both feet, and a contrary hawk homeward born with 2 steps.
Simple.
Yeah, sure. So basically, now it's maybe he's putting a lot of pressure on me. He's kind of coming in forward, really trying to like bulldoze into me. And I'm like, even if I do something or one step or like maybe I'm just basically I'm like I gotta get out. But what I do from here now is I'll back up. So I'm doing that same action, but I'm like, oh shit, I gotta get back because I'm like I don't know if I can actually parry that. But I think I did. Come back forward now. All set, back up. Again. Back up. And then pull back. False edge to the face. So same action, but now I have lost leg, right? So I can't hit his leg there, so I can hit him with the false edge. That's more because I'm just, well, facing Harley and I basically just backed up. I've probably lost that distance. And if I've lost that distance a lot, if I'm just rectifying I'm back here, if I just go those 2 steps forward again, I can still get that. And from there I can probably still be safe too. So try that. I'm not going to worry if you guys get the footwork right and all that. The main thing is now my distance is at a point where I cannot hit the leg, but I can maybe hit the face, maybe even take a step forward if I need to. But same action, just place the sword, come back up to the false edge.
You attack. You want me to attack you? Yeah, you attack. Oh, I can't. Can I get that in your turn? I'll be leaving it. That's too far. Usually when you say you want to go first, you want to get the technique first?
So something good to look at for something like this is, oh wait, so he does this, I've done this, I go to him in the face, I probably don't want to raise my hands too much, so that's where stepping in can count as well. If I step in and then get the flick, I can do that as well, cover the sword. Because that's one thing I think a lot of you guys notice, right? I come in here and the sword's open, but if I pull the distance here and then get the false edge, I can cover the sword and make that hit as well. So you give that a try as well. If you think, if it's done fast enough, you might be able to just basically like whack and hit it and get out. That's fine. But if it's done a little slower where you're like, oh, you know what? Ah, shit, I hesitated a little bit. I gotta cover the sword right away. And then do it. So you give both of a try. If it's done quickly, you can probably do it without the opposition. But if you do it a little bit slower, you're a little hesitant, just try to keep your hands low and then flick after you close the distance.
I'm going to keep pressure on your blade, like I'm going to keep pressure on your blade after 7, and then you can practice that.
Now try it. I'll turn it. Practice the step back. And then
7.
I don't know if it's really too far.
It's just a little point
Up
there.
and then down. But we
Like
just
this
one
one.
so it's not like a crooked. Okay.
Well, that's just the purple side. Yeah, like this. Kind of periods are a little bit further out.
Probably 5 pieces.
And then when we end up here, there, and it expands the front side is extra tight for the head. So, take the one over, take the blade.
Okay, let's take a look at a technique from the dog. So, most of Harley, those are the only like shorter lessons that, you know, like 2 or 3 actions basically, where everything else is probably like 10 or more. And yeah, like you said, it just becomes like a choreography kind of dance thing. You don't really learn much from it. The doll's got some shorter stuff as well. So one he has is a snatch. So a lot of what the doll has, or the doll is a small thing, but he has a proffer, rake, and a quarter. So let's start with that action there. A lot of the stuff builds on from that. So what a proffer is just an old English word for offer. I'm going to offer my sword, and he goes for it. He'll do that rake to the hands. And there, I can sword. So there, rake quarter. So rake the hands, quarter to the head. So again, wherever I am, I just offer my point. He goes for it. Cut upwards, cut to the head. So we'll start with that. We're not going to go through too much additional methods here, but a lot of it is like basically he always starts with this. This is how he engages. He's always, so I get in there, and then he does that action of here, here. My opponent's not going to do exactly every time, right? He's going to react to whatever I'm doing, probably parrying it, and that's where a lot of the doll's stuff comes from. Is the opponent's parried it. Now what do you do from there? Well, let's start just with that sequence, okay? So I just offer my point to his face, go to the long point. The sword hands comes out, just drop your point, cut up. And then for this, I like to do a pass. If I'm right foot forward, I like to pass my left foot instead of coming around his sword. And I bring my right foot behind me, turning, I'm going to turn around with a downwards cut to the head, or to the arms again, whatever. So one more time, right foot forward, I offer my point to his face, he goes engaged, drop the point, pass the left foot, cutting up to the arms, bring the right foot behind you, pivoting, doing that quarter blow to the head, or to the arms. Give that a try. Work through that sequence, and then we'll add the snatch part, which is in the second half of that lesson.
You can try it.
Okay, so right foot forward. So I offer my foot,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
And then I'm all like, haha, I'm gonna get it.
Move here.
Perfect.
So now.
Try going between the walker, try going right forward. Stay right forward. Now we offer your point. It's a lot easier to do it right.
And then like almost like not quite the middle, but now like intercept my hand.
There you go.
That feels like
Yeah,
that.
that's it. instead of doing more of a kind of a cut towards it, try to just take the sword. So when you basically threaten my face right now, right? I'm not gonna try to cut for this one. I'm just trying to like take the sword so I can gain the line, right? I feel like you're kind of throwing a little more of a cut through. Which is, not the end of the world, but that's just the difference. I'll just do that. And then when it does that, you see how it just opens up the arms a little bit more because now when it's coming forward, I'm just moving it to the side. Just give him a little more of a there.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So it's, you just switch the point and then you draw it.
Right before we start. Because, yeah, you're right, so you're right before, and then you do that, so point there. Right, so yeah, right at the end of the point, you go taking, I'm gonna step here. It's gonna be a little different because, well, kind of this, I probably don't want to do that because you see how with the sword, when I do that right, you're sword this way. So against the left, yeah, I would do something different.
Isn't that kind of right?
Does that look good?
That's not
Yeah. Fluid enough?
Yeah, the pistol must be a little awkward.
the angle different.
It's different, but I think you're just coming in at different again. But the other thing you do too is,
That's what I was trying to do really.
not go back to where you were.
When I
I'm trying to use the point. Like right now you're really cutting into me.
I should be cutting into the blade.
Way more. Take the blade, right? You try to take the blade. So now when that happens, go back again. Yeah, there's the issue. There's, now it's one easy. Start right forward. I want to do that again, sorry. Right forward, so go for your point. Just take it. Now bring that right foot behind you. Pivot on your left foot, yeah, and that now swing up too far. There you go, right there, yeah. You don't want to you want to basically get yourself back in line with your point, right? So whatever your guard stance is, right? My stance is here, or whatever my stance is. I've done my counter, he does whatever, so here, I'm getting on his back in line with it. I've done that. Now I'm in a nice solid stance. Here, sword's there, I'm kind of covering my angles and everything. If you overcommit to that, right, then you're gonna. So don't overcommit on the footwork.
And then, yeah, you're stepping forward, I'm gonna step behind yourself. Bring that behind you.
We gotta get right on the back.
And then go foot.
I got four
Forwards, forwards.
basket.
Cross the skull.
Eventually, you just want to disappear. So you just want that palm to go up.
Just like that, right?
Yeah, that first move.
Keep it like shield, right?
There you go.
Just turning around. I'm not getting the first hit, so like if I'm extended here,
And this is the wrist
Draw
board.
forward.
So like time up a
place
little
it on the hand,
necessarily.
draw it up.
Yeah, you're killing
second
second.
foot.
Well, it's just like your point is there. And then you
Too big of a motion.
Yeah. We might not get that.
yeah. Need all the range you get. don't bring it up into like box.
Okay.
Just bring it up into like
I think the big thing that really helps it sell it is that properly, I'm not making the sword do that. I'm letting the sword just drop
now
and
you're
step.
trying to go with this.
And then
This.
I cut afterwards.
There.
Don't try to like force the sword around. Make yourself stiff. Just here. Drop and then step. And when you drop the sword, you just squeeze the fingers and it can hit real hard. So be careful. When you squeeze the fingers from here, you get a lot of power. I'm not kind of hit hard, but I do that, I step, and I lift up. You can just really hard. So that's the thing is you just want to drop it and then let it fall, and then quickly just arms up, snap, fingers. Now your sword's up here. That'll help make that cut a little smoother. Yeah. Thank you.
The name of that is Rate.
Yeah, the rate.
So,
And what you want to do when you let it drop, make sure you use the fingers, and so you do this, squeeze the fingers. So it comes down, and you just squeeze, and it'll just come in real quick. So make sure you just loosen the fingers to let it fall. Yeah, loosen the squeeze.
Yeah, it's the two.
yeah.
Maybe instead of just
Step off, right? Like that hand.
I don't know, I tried to follow it, so like,
But yeah, I guess you gotta bring it back.
So like, what I'm getting is it's a thread on range play, right?
It seems, yeah, it can be. You're definitely trying to get into distance, right? So this is just like entry distance. We're going to pull it up there.
Yeah, because it seems like you're offering your blade way out
Yeah,
here.
yeah, and I'm trying to get it, and then now you're saying, okay, the hands are target. Exactly. So yeah, some of that distance stuff.
Because it's like, it's a counter hand.
Yeah, it's a hand sight, and I'm getting it closer because what will happen is when we'll look at it, we're probably going to maybe carry the hand sight. And then the quarter flow, yeah, the hand sight fits in. This gets me closer to quarter flow. Now we're fencing this distance, right?
So the quarter flow is like,
Yeah, it's basically like you're going into like for a hanging guard.
should you go all the way up to ox?
I got it, yeah.
It's not just a forward rotation.
Basically, point out.
So you can go back up.
Yeah. If you're too so big.
Okay, so let's keep going with this technique. So that's just the first part of it. Like I said, the additional thread. See ya.
Thanks, Wyatt.
Yeah.
So the first part of it is just the proper rate and quarter, and that's all over the place in the additional Laval manuscript. But again, there's no context with any of this, right? It just says a proper rake with a quarter full, voiding back the right leg with the left hand smite a snatch, then void back your left leg and get your stop. So here's a list of actions. What's their point of doing? You don't know. So we kind of have to, guess. I'm guessing that they're not going to let me go and do proper and do this, and then do this, and then do this. They're like, well, I'm not going to let me just hit him like a bunch of times. My guess is that I've done this. He lowers his hilt, parries that. Now he parries this. From here, I'm just going to snap on my way out. And I'm like, well, I've lost this. You're coming in and you're like, I got him. He's parried. Snap on the way out.
Flow
So-
chart. So I guess if those first ones don't work, just
The first
keep
ones
going
don't work,
until-
and you're like,
Yeah.
I'll do a shitty one hand swing. So the same techniques that we just did, but now, you know, Zach's up and defensive. He's like, these are shitty techniques. I'm gonna parry the ball. So I've got this. Oh, look at that. Look at my shoulder. Parry this, and I'm like, yeah, he's in a better spot than I am. He's got a line here. He can just probably do some good stuff there. But I'm just gonna left hand, the right hand off, one hand hit the leg, and back up. Because I'm in a pretty weak position there. He's got his strong on my weak. He's basically ready to just kind of turn in and take the line and just plow through me there. So we get proffer, parries that, one-handed hit, get out. Two-handed hit doesn't work. I don't have a distance for that. The one-handed hit will. So, again, the English Longsword, I don't know if that's actually right. I don't know if that's actually a quarter. Proffer is probably that, it's just an offer. Offering my point. And we don't know if that's a snatch, but just based on whatever kind of agrees with this consensus, that's probably what it is. Makes sense. When you kind of look at it, you're like, okay. You put it in context, you put it all together, and you're like, I can see that. So, one more time. Right foot forward, I offer the blade, do that. I've done my cut, I parry it. I keep going, I do my pass, back my foot behind me, go for the head, I parry that. And I'm like, shit, what am I going to do from here? I'm just going to get out, put it on the leg, and pass back.
Because he's probably going to come for your head right after.
Oh yeah, right there. He's just like, I'm lined up here to go stab you whack in the head. I'm like, I'm going to get out and try to just hit your leg on the way out. Because, you know, I can keep getting to the point where I'm here and all of a sudden I'm here and you can keep fighting, he does something, I do something, but the problem is that we're fighting now in this closer distance where it starts getting really, really dirty. I mean, besides the one hand cut the leg. But it's just when you start fighting in here and you're getting into these positions, it's just getting any man can win kind of thing. Because you're not fencing from like first intention direct attack or fencing from out a distance here. I'm trying to make a mistake before I even come in, right? Now I'm here, we're fighting here now. It's like it's who's stronger, who's quicker, who's luckier. It gets to be a dangerous game. So we're just saying, yeah, I'm getting out of here with a one-handed swing. So that's my snatch.
How do you generate the force? Like you're already on, like how do you get a nice
So let me get back to where I was. Here, here, here. So I'm just gonna let the sword drop, and then it's just a matter of, you're kind of gonna have to squeeze the fingers a little bit, but just bring your arm through. Like from here, if I drop it, it doesn't do a lot, but if you can get a decent amount, you're gonna let it kind of just fall, and just guide the fall and pull through. It's gonna be more, it's not gonna be a big chopping dislocate, like cut the leg off, but if you, like you probably feel there's enough force where you're like, you know, that probably need a cut. It's not might not end the fight, but it's just, I'm getting out, and I'm gonna leave the mark while I get out.
Yeah, I think that's the big, because I won't be, if you're going right for that, you cut, get out. Like, you know, my step and afterglow is out of range.
Yeah.
You decided I'm withdrawing and taking a piece.
Yeah. So I'm just going for that cheap shot on the way out, saying, you know what, I'm going to go for this leg, because say we're fencing in historical context where we don't have all this padded gear on, maybe his pants aren't very thick, maybe he's doing some weird Italian lunar stuff, and now I'm actually gotten a nice slice of his leg. And again, with sharks, we don't know how it would be. That might be enough to change the fight. We might not hurt him at all, we don't know. But it's something, right? At least I'm getting out of there with something rather than nothing. Because I could be in a spot and I feel like I didn't get out, I can just get out, or I can just drop my point and get out. How's that? Oh, give that a try. So that same proper rate quarter, and now they're parrying all your actions. You failed that attack now. Now you have to go in, relieve with that snatch.
You could get something decent.
Yeah, like there's a bit of power to it. It's not like a good one-hand swipe from the shoulder, right? But it's enough to be like, it's enough to leave a mark.
Enough to irritate them.
Yeah.
Especially, yeah, you often go for like, you'll often go for like one hand
I see what you mean with the less you do different. There's the
Instead
hand
of throwing them like that, you know,
Yeah, so
Yeah,
just change
yeah,
the
yeah, you
angle.
can't just-
You have to work it.
Yeah, it's like I'm just gonna step
This
back.
is the way. I'll do it this way, yeah, see, it's actually, I could actually have to carry it like that.
Got it. Just, and you got just as you're starting.
Something probably doesn't work for us, you know.
No, it's the furthest spot. right
Yeah,
there.
yeah, I was gonna say, I gotta drop it even lower.
Yeah, either that or.
Basically aim at the knee or like the very bottom of the thigh.
I'll do a couple of hanging and see the difference.
Oh, sorry, was that it?
Well, no, it's just moving.
Just, yeah, left-handed. That's safe for your first one. Correct. Oh, you go for the parry there. Do this. You have to use your hands so hard. Because I'm looking for the arms. I'll let go my hands go. You're
You're gonna step in.
You're gonna look right here. But for this one, you just want to hit the arm. Don't worry about getting your hands so high. Go here, and there, and then here. It's a little easier to put my hands here. Spin around and get that portable action.
Even if I punch.
So we can also look at this in a bit of context for,
My foot there,
you know,
because I keep having to like.
I've done the proffer, he carries the rate, carries the quarter. And his next reaction is probably wanting to chop you or stab you in the face, right? But to me, to want to do that one hand side, he starts moving forward with that, I can just back up too and hit him with that action, right? It doesn't have to be that immediately. It could be here where he's there, he's just moving forward now, and he has control. I can just back up and then get that distance too, right? So what's gonna happen is because
Ross and Matthew.
what I'm saying is, I've done that wherever we are here. And then, yeah, he's putting pressure on me. He's coming forward with his riposte now. Like, I don't have to stand here, right? I'm just backing up. And when I'm backing up and he's putting forward pressure here, I might be able to hit his leg just on that distance there, right? Even if he's leaning forward, like, there's still that chance of me to hit his leg that way. So it might not necessarily be like right immediately where I'm here and we're here, and I'm just like, instantly like, dang, really quick. It might be something where I'm here, and he's just coming forward, and I'm like, shit, and then I get him on that first step, and I back out, right? Because I'm like, he's got control. I can't really get, he's putting pressure on my sword, he's there. I can only get out underneath. I get more reach with that one hand move too, right? So I'm getting out that. That's one way to like the context of that too, right? So it's not necessarily like a one and we stop there, we're pausing, and I'm able to assess the situation and saying, hey, I can hit him there. It's, he's there, he's controlling me, I'm backing up, and he can keep chasing me. Eventually I can probably do this and get that reach I need. So that's one way to look at that with the context of it. But when you might use something like that, is just, you're backing up, but that one-handed reach will give you a bit more range. So, excuse me. Let's take a look at some silver now. So now we're looking at more of the quarterstaff blades. Use them as a longsword. So, silver's got some that are more so from a bind. So if you get into essentially a bind, it doesn't give us too much, but if I get into a bind, we're kind of medium. So what he does is cut down the sword there and strike. So instead of trying to like get my strong and weak or anything like that, I'm just taking my sword, cutting down his flat, basically onto his back edge towards his head, driving his sword down. So over here, he's not putting a lot of pressure, and I'm able to actually do that. I can drive it down, and there I have an opening to strike it. So again, I can do that if I'm here, I can do that. It's a bit of a step too, kind of helps just drive my body weight into it, and then thrust and try to whatever I need to do. Yeah, so that's one of Silver's techniques. Basically, on the inside bind, cut down the sword, and from there everything in. Does that make sense? Let's give it a try.
Sure.
Something I haven't seen a lot of longsword sources. That's something you guys ever do? Something you guys ever do? I don't see a lot of
Not the pushing feet, no.
I don't see a lot of
Yeah, I think off knife, the slicing off, maybe that's one of those hidden techniques where you don't really know what it is.
You see it in a lot of broadsword sources, so it's like a lot of English broadsword sources, it's all over the place, and like, it makes sense of making the longsword ones. You want to cut basically like 6 inches to the side of the sword. So if I have my middle up here, I cut 6 inches down there. See, I'm going to drag this sword down, and my point ends up right here. It's enough to hit it in there. Yeah, basically cutting down the sword about 6 inches to the side of it, kind of where you're aiming.
That's all. It's something like force. It's a beat.
Kind of like bouncing your sword onto the earth.
A little bit, yeah. Make sure, use those fingers, use those.
So the thing that really helps sell this is using your fingers. So this is a big thing with broadsword, essentially. Give me a finger. Using those fingers, so I want to loosen my fingers, kind of pull them back so I can squeeze them. Gives me that little bit of acceleration there. That's what's really going to help drive it. So when I've done this, my fingers are loose, and then I squeeze the fingers when I do it, and a little bit of forward push will help kind of just get my point right there, and this sword is there, right? So instead of trying to do it with the arms just don't give me anything really. But the fingers will help me give me that little extra boost to it. So if you're having a bit of trouble, make sure you loosen the fingers, and when you cut down the sword, squeeze the fingers to give it that little bit of acceleration.
Not quite. Then you can.
Everything relaxed, and then just those fingers.
I
Don't want to push too hard.
So you don't want to end up down like this, right?
So, you want
Too far, right?
to be the one, like you want to kind of like this, like you're kind of pulling your sword straight out. If I squeeze my fingers, my sword ends up there. If I lower my hand, my arms, my sword ends up there. So what most people do when they see a technique like this is they lower the arms, moving down there. My arms go straight forward, my fingers do that work, and see where my sword ends up after? Right there, so it's just straight in after. So your arms are pushing straight forward, the fingers are squeezing, and then it almost bounces off, and ends up right in the chest or in the face.
Trying to get that last one.
try to cut a little bit more, aim a little bit more right here on the cut.
I'm trying to aim
Try kind of
for.
back a little bit forward.
When you get caught into a habit,
It's a little bit hard to do. The higher you go, the easier it is. Now I can really drive it down. But again, this is always like, you won't see this coming. Look at that. And I don't want this one. But, so, I think you're just a little more, and make it real. And then, yeah, then you squeeze the fingers and then push out. And again, what's happening here is the structure of the land, arms and left hand, it's a little bit stronger than working against the fingers, you're working against his arms twisting. It's a little bit harder to do that against. Go the other way.
Yeah, do a full
If
reach.
I do it this way, it might be a little harder for me to do it. Or maybe a little bit different. I'm struggling with that too. I guess, but
Now your arms are kind of
away from each other rather than towards each other. So I feel like when they come towards each other, it's easier to like lock that break. Away, you're kind of like, it pulls on the fingers.
that sends it down.
So that's why it's a little bit harder to get on them. But the main thing is, if you're doing it to them, it's a bit of a timing issue, right? Like, get in and right away. And basically, I'm kind of bouncing off the sword. Bouncing off the sword. It still might be enough to make the opening, but it'd be a little bit harder because of the cast of the stuff.
Grapples on the street.
There you go.
And it's, yeah, that's your first start.
Really nice there. What I want to see you do it is when you do it, try to get it like in one motion with one straight upwards rather than like a one having a foot outline. Try to just push it so your point kind of goes straight into it the whole time. Just kind of like around it. It gets confusing, but it makes it really nice since it's just one motion of right here. Like your cut on the sword is really nice. So just cut down the sword, but try to enter your points there. So don't overcut too much down. So you have a really nice cut on the sword. It's really doing good on him. But just don't let your point get too far away. Just have your point right over the body. So your cut ends straight in. Yeah, there you go. It was nice and quick. Yeah.
Oh, so what do you want? The thing on the wall? You okay, all right?
So I think he's just doing going left hand. So I think what's happening is just kind of going like a quick little flick. I want you to actually try to cut down the sword. Okay. All the way down. No, that's an exaggeration, but it helps you get a feel for it. Because once you get a feel for it, then you know that it's going to cut down. What happens is when you do this, if I keep going, it just they keep going down. You get a point where it's kind of punching down back a little bit as you're trying to get a cut there.
Banking on his resistance.
There's going to be resistance naturally just because of like where you're cutting down on the sword. It's just kind of bounces and lights here, like it's going to want to bounce. If I'm trying to cut down here, it's going to go far. But if I'm trying to cut right while it takes into from the sword, it's going to fling it down and end kind of here.
So you're not shooting or
No, get to there, and then typically squeezing the fingers and pushing the hands forward. I'm trying to do this kind of motion. My sword's not, my point's not dipping lower than like this belly, right? So doing that, and then my sword can kind of end up where it is. So you gotta make sure that you're still getting that cut all the way down the sword. So doing a big cut to start, get a feel for it, then you just tighten it up and try to get that same feeling, but with a tighter cut. Yeah, that's what you do. The first thing you're doing is good, because your point wasn't on his body. You want your point to still be on his body. Your point's on his body, and that's the right thing. Then it's just straight it out. But it's that resistance of his arms, because he's going against the crossing of his arms. He just doesn't want to break apart. it just makes a big difference, eh? Alright, so let's take a look at, so that's like a bind where we kind of take control, but if they put an opposition against us, they kind of going strong in the bind. We're going to do some more one-handed stuff, because that's an English thing. We're here, he's in the bind, kind of pushes me aside, takes control. I'm going to step back and do a one-handed thrust. So I'm basically disengaging and then thrusting, and thrusting under. So it's just take control, and I'm like, boop, step back and step. So, take control. It's over.
Bit of a disengage into a thrust out.
Yeah, I'm just disengaging under instead of doing this. I'm stepping back and doing this, right? Like, I can't even reach here. Can't reach here. I can reach there. So it's all that one-handed thrust stuff is all just about like this. I do this all the time when I'm doing an audible and stuff like that. When we're doing stuff, I'm like doing my thrust. And, like the thrust doesn't land when I'm doing an audible and we're doing stuff. It's being carried. My thrust doesn't land here. It lands on the back foot because the back foot gets me that changing of my shoulder. My right foot hasn't changed. That actually gives me more distance. Kind of similar stuff as one-handed stuff. It's not meant to be like a cheap shot. It's meant to be like I'm playing with that distance. Look at that distance of my one-handed shot over here. I disengage under, I can't hit. I pass back, I can't hit. This can hit. If I just, I mean, I'm reaching a little bit, my distance is a little bit, but this can hit. This can't. This might be into that distance, but it's just saying that, like, I'm getting out. I'm going to get out with a shot. And a lot of times it's that one-handed shot. He takes control. He's got control of the line. He's going to get out. One-handed thrust. Again, he follows me, he's going to walk into that. Or I can go for his hands. Or if anything, I just miss, and I just kind of made him scare him a little bit. Because the thing with one-handed thrust is that depending if I do a big step back, I'm going to miss. I don't want to step back, and then, yeah. It usually wants to be disengaged, thrusting, and then when the point's hitting, and then my momentum's coming backwards. It has to be like, the timing has to be really good. That's a hard thing with that, because it's a shitty technique because it's really weak. So if I do the timing of it off, and I'm like, I step, and I do the one-handed thrust, say I start doing it too early or something like that, I can't think of the right words I'm trying to think of right now, but it's got no structure. It's a really weak thrust. So if I'm doing it with bad timing, really slowly, and he carries it, and he whacks my sword down, like, I'm just screwed. It's a shitty technique. So I'm trying to do it where the distance is here, and it's the last second, right before my momentum starts going back, and now the body starts moving backwards. Right at the last touch, right there, and then my body is
Kind of you're like pushing off from him.
yeah, almost.
Yeah.
So it's not something where I'm not like doing it, I'm not like here, big stab, and then backing up. It's that very last second of like, I'm getting out, and I'm making that jabbing thrust to get out. This is gonna either sting him a little bit. I mean, you know that thrust to the body, especially to the abdomen, that can be deadly if it goes in 2 inches. That can kill him. But it also just might put a little bit of fear into him too, right? If he's like, he's running that bind, I'm like, I can't beat this guy. He's got that strong bind. I'm like, you know, he's like, oh shit, that point's there. I would have walked into that. Might put a little distance to him there too, right? So, again, not one of those one-handed game enders where I'm just here and I'm just swiping his legs off. But it's just something that we're in that bind, and I'm like, ah shit, I can't win this guy. But, you know, I like touch. Again, I can maybe even do that to the hands if I wanted to. But might be enough to just kind of dissuade him a bit, might get him looking on him. Let's try that now. So they're pushing on the bind, they're winning the bind, disengage under, one-handed thrust, pass back.
So,
I usually do do, right?
Gotta get the
So if I'm gonna bind, I'm probably getting into a bind right here, right?
Could. I think it's tough to get the hand from one hand.
Disengage.
One hand,
Yeah, that happened on switch, shifting forward, back foot. So like the timing has to be really critical. Running out of breath. Yeah, the timing is the hard part.
Now this is right leg breaker move.
Like if you have to, get the thrust first. Here, get the thrust first. Flat down. Get the thrust first. And then back up. And now you can be like, okay. Thrust, back up. And now you can be like, okay, let's keep making that tighter and tighter until it's comfortable. So then you're trying to get the back up and the thrust. Get the thrust, then back up, and then close the line on the two.
Two jump.
It's time to shine. Alright.
Oh, no, you want to first.
Yeah, like what I was telling you over there. Best way to get a feel for it is just to do it. Get that one-handed thrust in, make contact, step back. Now try it again, you're like, hey, I know, contact, step back. Try again, and like, okay. Then you start slowly making it where I'm like stepping back at the same time. So you got to feel for that distance of it, and how to make that step. But start without stepping, just make that contact, then step back. And now it's trying to close the line between the two. It's like stepping during the thrust. And now I'm trying to make the line at the same time.
Swing this leg way out.
Yes, yeah.
No,
it's
just pivoting on the foot.
around like the hip even.
So palm on this foot.
Well,
Under.
I mean, the wrist is
Everything
close,
close,
right?
So I think what happens too is, so through here you find out my sword.
Oh, okay, I think I should.
So it's a little more distort. Yeah, you get a nice actual. Now that makes me want it. Right now your bind is very more, so it's kind of like there. And then now when you go under, it's like the hand right there. It's awkward. But it's just I want to bind, I put the pressure against you. I kind of feel like it comes over my left side here. Now it makes it open. Now if you just make under, it's not open there. So I think you're kind of in the middle.
Right.
I want you to take a little more control of the time. Pushing a little more to your left side. That's going to help you open up this major compressor.
That's how you get. I don't know. Like once you get to the disengage, so you see it's
Now you have to try and come back.
yeah.
Alright, so there's a few things I still want to go over. We're getting a little shorter on time, so let's start looking at, so that's a new place from Silver. Basically a couple of his strong bind, weak bind kind of thing. Let's look at Sweatman's. Sweatman's got a few basic attacks we can kind of play with. And then the last source you get is Wild, 7 to 11. That's like the latest source. And that one's very simple stuff. So Sweatman, we just got basic stuff like we can feint a thrust, disengage, and thrust. So for him, basically I'm here, I feint a thrust, he goes to engage, they just disengage, thrust, right? Thrust. Some of you guys probably done before, I'm sure, but we'll keep going with a little bit of it. So Instead, he goes for the blade, I disengage under his blade, pass forward, thrust, and cover. Yeah, so that's basically a simple one with this sweatlet. Stand, here, thrust, cover. Give that a quick try, and then we'll switch over to Sweatlet's cut. So again, now we're getting into stuff where it actually has a little bit of like, it's not just gibberish, right? It's just like, oh, here's how you do the actual feint and the thrust, right?
Yeah. What do you think? A lunge or a pass? Sorry, what?
Here, just the arms. And then passing step.
Here, I'll go in a bit more detail. So I see a few things there. So for the feint, I want to do without stepping. This is very similar to that proffer that was before. So if his sword's not even in the way, my feinted thrust is just that offer. I'm offering him that point. If he does nothing, he comes to thrust. So what I'm doing is I'm here, I'm extending the point. And it's not just like I'm here and like here's my sword. I'm here, I extend the point where it looks like it's a real attack coming. He goes for it. I haven't moved my feet yet. I disengage under his sword. Now I'm moving for a real attack. To stay where I am, my feint is with my arms. Disengage, thrust. But I'm offering my point to him, right? Disengage, thrust. So, again, no forward at the start. Like, if I'm fencing, realistically, I'm fencing and we're exactly moving around, right? We're in the tournament again, and we didn't fight each other once for it, but my feinted thrust is here. It's just this extension. Because if he does nothing, I'm just like, oh shit, I'm just gonna run in there, right? That's how it works. But I feinted that thrust, and he's like, I have to react, because if he does nothing, I might just run in there. But he reacts, and then I come in. But for the whole purpose of the drill, I don't have to do all that. I don't have to do that past the start. Because I'm in the right distance I want to be in. I'm extending the arms. He's trying to find my blade, so I disengage under. And now, I have the opening I want. He's on the wrong side. And I pass forward. Let's see that try. Step back a bit. Yeah. Now extend your blade. And then just on your under and pass forward. Honestly, like for you probably like me, I can probably go through here. I'd be extending that point here and there. So the thing is, I'm here, he does nothing. He gives me an opening. Yeah, right? But if he does react, then during his reaction, I see it the up there. Now I pass on that and I come in. It can be a little bit different, but for me, like usually if I'm against you, my feinted thrust is usually your left shoulder. Against him, this is the left shoulder, it might be still, but I might feint the right shoulder from there. Because his sword's probably likely on this side of his body, being a lefty, I want to get him to move his sword out of the way, right? So I'm saying, hey, your opening is here. And quick enough, I can get it. So that's what I'm threatening, it's like, hey, it's here. And then I'm disengaging. Kind of missing, miss his gauge, but yeah, so I'd say feint more towards his right shoulder. That should bring his foot across his body and he can thrust the left side. So the key thing with that feint is that the feint itself isn't fast. The feint is actually usually fairly slow. If I'm feinting Zach, my feint is here. It's the actual attack that's fast. Because if my feint's here and it's this, like he's still reacting, he's letting know what's going on, because he's like, I don't know what's going on. You know, you want to say, okay, there's that attack. It's slow, it's visible, he has time to react. I don't want him to react to the actual attack. If I go really fast, he just flinches. So my feint is here, and then that faster comes in, right? That's how you want that to be. So it's got to be a little bit slower on the feint. The feint has to be visible. A lot of people have a tendency to have like a feint and cut before, like feint and cut. So my feint and cut is actually typically like, and then real attack comes in. But it's slow, fast. Same with the thrust. That thrust is slow, fast. Oh, I missed. But you get the point. It's slow. It comes in slow, and I do it with my footwork and everything, but it comes in slow, and then fast afterwards. You missed me. So slow up the feint a little bit, because you want your opponent to react to it. If it's too fast, they're not going to react to it. They're going to do something different. You want them to see that feint. You want them to realize that's the thrust coming in. If it's too fast, the brain, the wires will get crossed, and they might not do the right thing. So slow, and then fast. Keep going. Couple more tries.
I think my sword dispatchers haven't extended the arm. Haven't made me attack. So if you go to hit my sword, it goes like this.
And it's much
You're just giving me the thrust like this.
Alright, so everyone's done a bit of thrusting here. Let's take a look at the cutting. The cutting is very similar. The way we feint and the way we cut is all the same as we do in like our SD curriculum that Jaden started there. But basically it's that slow and fast. So if I'm going to be doing a cut, I'm going to start my cut slow here. He reacts to it, and then I go fast the other way. So all that finger squeezing, right? I won't get into too much detail, but the way I do it, I call it like putting in neutral gear sort of thing. Where I'm here and I've gone to neutral gear, but from there I can change whatever angle. I haven't committed to anything yet. Till my feet come. So he's there, I'm here, he's done that. Maybe I want to do a rising cut. The next step. Maybe I'm here and he threatens me and I'm like, I've done it. I've just put my sword out. I've just gone to neutral. But now I can put whatever gear I want. If I go here and I'm like, you know what? I think I can beat that parry or something like that. Then I might go through it. I might try to get in. You know? So sort of is the same thing. I'm coming in, I'm kind of putting into that neutral position. I'm just extending the hands, threatening that point, that cut. So I'm not threatening the point. I'm not going in like this. Because the thrust is threatening, the point's in the line of the body. The cut is usually over the shoulder to the head, right? I'm not feinting a cut over here too big for this. Just kind of waiting and passing those hands to the head. My hand needs to stay behind the sword. I'm here. He's saying, okay, that sword, if I don't do anything, it's going to just come in and try and hit it, right? So he has to move that sword out into the way of the parry. And all I gotta do is just change the line, squeeze the fingers, lunge or pass, or whatever you want to do. But my feint, it's slow, fast, right? Slow, wait for that reaction. As soon as he's fast, it comes in fast. So slow extension, because if he does nothing, if I'm here and he does nothing, it just becomes a direct attack. I just go straight in. So people have a tendency of like, I'm gonna do a feint. And they just, there's no committed action or they've done reactions, they don't need to. I'm coming in slow, I hit him. If he's too slow to react, I can hit him. If he's faster to react, I can hit him with the feint now. Once that's slow, turn the angle and feint. And again, you just put it neutral, and it's just a matter of just dropping your arms, dropping your sword wherever you want it to, squeezing the fingers and coming forward now. Out of breath. Let's give that a try. And then we're going to do something with sweating them, which puts both those two things kind of together. When you're on, grab some water. Look at that.
Yeah, it would be more size.
Just kind of turning this like a steering wheel.
Well, I guess I should just went for it. But I,
That's what I wanted to say.
Alright.
But I don't want to be standing here in my face, because if he does something I didn't expect, I might just have right in the
So there's a point of no return.
This one,
So I'm here and I'm like,
so making a mistake
I can get it.
before I get into this part here, the mistakes, that I get
Then he
that.
starts to tear it
If you step with a feint, anything distance, you might get hit if he doesn't react to your feint. How many shots are you
So you're a little bit too close.
Or like you get hit.
Get your hand against it.
So if you always start outside, now we're going still going around.
Oh,
Still going around.
what?
So like, instead of giving your sword to the side,
Like that.
yeah, just keep it nice and high.
Keep your sword vertical. Don't try to push your point forward at all. So if you're going to the way you are, facing like
Try to
this.
keep control of the
So
sword.
see how my sword's just going forward, my point isn't?
Don't let it slide down.
So now go for the parry, say, right? It's like, so there's a little bit of contact here, which isn't terrible, but it's not hard for me to, if my point's forward, I have to point right.
Gotcha.
The more backwards you keep my point, the easier it is for me to do something.
Turns.
Because what's really likely going to happen is if he does nothing, so I'm here, say you're sort of a little more open, I'm like, okay, there's the opening I'm trying to make to. He does nothing, and my point's back. I can cut quicker than you can parry.
Yeah, my practice sword today.
Oh, yeah, you're saying point no return. That's that one, right?
Like, I never say point of return full swing, you get the action.
Well, I mean, like if you're close enough to get the single action,
Yeah.
there's no point to cutting it out.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly it. So that's what it is. I'm here, he's done nothing, and now it's like, okay, well, I can just use fingers. But it's the fact that he's done something during that action. Now I'm like, I'm just really blind. Okay, so let's add both of those together a little bit here. So what Sweat then has here for one of his techniques is basically I'm going to feint that cut. So here, feint that cut, draw it under, and stab. So now I can kind of sell the cut a little more. I can actually, if I wanted to, cut. But I'm going to cut by pulling my arm short and then stabbing in. So it's a little bit of a, like a pull back and stab. But I'm basically just pulling back far enough from their sword. I don't want to go like, yeah, big anime wind up or something. But now I can sell that cut a little more by saying, yeah, I'm actually cutting, but I'm just going to be cutting short, and then once I'm past the sword, I can come into this thrust. So kind of doing cut and feinting the cut, going into a thrust. So just basically cut short and stab in it. Again, if you can, do it opposition if you can, right? Yeah, pretty good. Cut in, stab in. Please cover your sword if you can. If not, the other option is, right, I cut in, I stab again. But feint the cut, but now the cut is the cut is like a faked short cut, right? It's not an actual how I was feinting that cut before. Cutting short, so I can cut past the sword and then just stab it behind it.
Try and bait you away.
That's what I asked if you wanted. Where's the store?
Okay. I'm gonna say cutting and pulling.
Cut. And cut. So I just pull tight here, get the cut. And just give it a loop that I'm cutting it right up. Cutting it, but then legs are going to cut behind the parry. Give it a nice get here. Snap it right out.
It's not like what we've done with the check stuff before, right? One way to do that.
Well, the check step is on the point, but I think the point is to
It's the same motion with the sword, right? Where you're not-
yeah, it's just a sword how like you're cutting it in. Start with this sword. Yeah, and then step out without looking up the back. straighter than that. All the way straight.
Alex's favorite technique. Oh yeah? You do it really far back. So it's usually be a double.
Yeah, so when you shoot the point, it's hit. Half of it, half of it. You hit, and then you can line. Half of it.
So if you think you have someone's carrying a lot, you can go for the outer point and have the sword moving out that way.
Alright, so 7:30, I think everyone's getting a little tired and getting how to retain stuff. So I got a few other things here, so I'm gonna run through them. We won't run through them as a group, I think, just so everyone can kind of relax and not. I feel like everyone's brains starting to work a little bit less. Mine definitely is. So I'll kind of run through the other things I had noted here, just so you guys can kind of see through the little techniques and stuff. So one you see a lot in English sources, especially with broadsword, is just a slip. Over here, and then Zach attacks me. I might just actually slip his blade completely in there. So I don't see that too much in often longsword, but just a slip rather than making connection, disengage. Avoid his blade basically. So that's another one from Sweatman. I had a few from Wyatt. So what you see a lot more in probably a little easier in quarterstaff than in longsword, but if we're engaged here, I can cut up the sword. Basically ride his sword down, cut his face, and come back down. It's a little more dangerous because if you actually put some pressure on it or something like that, which might happen, but if he's weaker in the bind, I can probably just, or if he's not someone who likes to go strong in the bind, I can probably just kind of cut down the sword away to his face and keep control. False edge or just rush in. Just a simple one there, but I can just cut down the sword. Very similar to the this one, but I can just do it a little bit lightly, cut down, cover. That's more, probably a little bit easier with quarterstaff, where you're not likely to probably get a double from that. The one we have from Wild, is from inside guard, I can disengage over feet, and then thrust from there. So again, from a bind is inside, it helps too if he's putting a little bit of pressure, I can disengage over, beat his sword down, not as bad. But yeah, here, feet, thrust, cut, whatever. Basically just disengage over. Probably do that on the other side too, if we're here. You can probably disengage over, feet, thrust. So basically just disengage and beat. And then we have a nice neat little one I'm going to end the class with. But it's getting late already. So this one is, say, for more probably in this position here. Again, this isn't a longsword one, I'd say, because again, all this stuff, these last resources come from quarterstaff, or a lot of it does work. You can make it work. This one, I work with sword and armor, probably not on armor. Just getting up to here, the half sword. Even with pressure, you know, this way towards my hand, I pommel. With pressure the other way, I thrust. But basically, I could just be like in that bind position, and he's here, and he's pushing my sword, or he's trying to come in close. I can just get up here and get to here. And there I can pommel or I can cut. But there's a little bit of half swording stuff in a sense. Again, that's probably what's a lot easier with quarterstaff, where you're not likely to get into these dirty situations with the sword. But it does work with sword and armor. There's a lot of half swording stuff very similar to that. So that being said, that's kind of a few techniques from longsword. Again, most of the stuff that actually works is from the quarterstaff sources. The really old stuff is basically just garbage.
Muddled.
There's some stuff there, but unless we get some extra hidden sources that say, hey, this is what a rate is, and this is what all these actions are, and we can actually fully define them, and also the context of why do you do 3 rates, then do a double rate, then take a step back and do 4 more rates, and like that. What is a rate, and why am I doing 8 of them in a row? I don't know. These are questions that are just, it's why Longsword's garbage, and it's actually one of your players that Longsword is garbage.
Maybe it's just the thwart. That it makes sense. You just keep thwarting.
That's what I think it is. It's like the roundies you can do that because you can do. There's a few that's like do a double roundie, do a double roundie, and this. It's like it does make sense in some cases. There's some places where it's like that's too many. Like 8 in a row is like what's your opponent doing? Just let you do 8 of them in a row. But
which of all the techniques you've taught us to, which one have you been most successful with and most?
Well, I'd have to say the basic ones there. So sweating them, the basic feint, basic thrust. Those are just there. The leg cut I showed you guys at the start. I don't think I ever got that one. Same with the snatch. I've done snatches before from like out of distance or here and I've done something like that. But from a distant actual engagement and leaving from it, I haven't done. A lot of the quarterstaff stuff you will actually get because it's in a period where it's like it's a lot of basic stuff where it's just like, hey, do a basic feint and then like yada yada this or that. Like I'm drawing blanks for what all the stuff I just taught you, but you do add some of that stuff sometimes. So the quarterstaff stuff, it's if I had to, like when I started with Harleyan, if I had to go back now, and I probably will at some point, I'd probably make a whole system out of the quarterstaff stuff, kind of like, it's simple, like when you actually do it, it's literally just like you have it like inside, outside, and you have a couple of hanging guards, and it's just like speed thrust, and then like, you know, feint this, and like a couple like leg hits, and like there's not a lot to it, but maybe it's something you can build off to with later English longsword stuff, but it's hard to know. Yeah.
If you had a time machine, what would you visit first?
I would probably have to do. Oh, shit, that's a tough one. I do too many sources, so it's not like I can't be like, oh, I want to do this one because I teach too many. So it's not like I'm partial to English longsword. I probably want to do it because it's one of the ones that's the most unknown. So to actually be able to go back and be like, hey, here's a definitive thing. Because we have enough people doing like Fiore and broadsword's well known, and the German stuff's not too bad. Like I'm doing science and stuff's not too bad. But yeah, English longsword, probably going back in time would be like, yeah, probably saying, okay, let's get a dictionary of like what these actions are, and then I can come back and actually make something work. And then everyone will still tell me I'm wrong.
You gotta find one monk to write it down somewhere.
Well, the thing is, it's funny, everything's spelled phonetically, so they have like a roundy. But it's also spelled phonetically, so how many ways can you spell roundy with different letters? So there's at least like 7 different versions of the book.
Spelling was optional back then.
It's like R-O-U-W-N-Y-S, one with like 2 I's, one with extra Y's, and one with W's, one with O-U's, and it's just like... So it's funny, because people will like say it to me online, it's like, they'll always say, do some of the backstop. Or it's always like, do a backstop, or do this, and come to a stop. Or not come to a stop. There's some ones that actually come to a stop. There's some like, basically there's some... The context is stop, but I'm like, it makes sense if the word is step. So if like it says like do it with a backstop, then you're like, okay, well I'm doing a back step, I'm going to step back. People are like, oh, backstop might be like a back edge parry. I'm like, hey, but instead of do a snatch with a backstop. So like, so if we're here, I'm doing this, so instead of doing the snatch with a backstop. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I'm doing this, stepping back, but they're like, okay, do this. But with a backwards parry, false parry, people are like, that doesn't make sense. And it's like, people be like, yeah, but it says stop, it's S-T-O-P, see? And I'm like, yeah, but this word is also spelled wrong, and that word's spelled wrong, and that word's spelled wrong, so why can't this word be step? It's spelled phonetically, and it's also like 500 years ago. They didn't talk like us. Like, they could have said step more like stop.
Depends on how close to the vowel transition it was, because England changed all their vowel sounds just.
Yeah,
You go through Old English, and yeah, the A is said as an aw sound.
Yeah, so it's like, people take the transitions as like literal, like, this is how we say it nowadays. Like, no, this is, what fits the context? That's always a big thing of like, what fits the context? Is the word stop likely a parry, or is it likely a step? Because there's some cases where you're like, okay, this might be parry, but like 90% of them, it makes more sense to be a step. So.
Was there kind of a Lichtenhauer thing where they made it complicated and weird on purpose to make it harder to learn or something so only certain people learned it?
Potentially. There's like zero context in English language stuff, so no one really knows, but there could be stuff like that. There's no written like lineage and like manuals, so we don't really know enough about English longsword again. That's why it's garbage. There's just no information to go off besides a bunch of random terms that we just make up.
Anything else from like British Isles around that time period, or not particularly?
No. The English were the only ones writing things down. Even like, if you look at all the broadsword sources, like, Scottish broadsword, you know, you guys are island gathering and stuff. Yeah, all those sources are written by Englishmen because the Scots didn't write anything down, so it's the English that wrote everything. So there's nothing else in the English Isles except English stuff, and if it is some other countries, they probably stole it and said it's English anyway.
Further difference too was that around Germany in the areas where there's lots of trees, there was a lot of smaller kingdoms, and so they couldn't go in person to train people, so they had to make these manuals to then be like, no, you don't need me, just read this. Whereas in England, I guess they did more in-person training because they were more, you know.
Probably more competition. Like, I have a book, what do you have?
Yeah, there's I don't know the exact context of everything that was going on back then too, right? Like,
Were there any accounts of duels or like battles where they were like the actions taken, like he rounded here and did a great
there's records of battles, but never of them like describing it, because the people describing the battles aren't people writing fencing manuals in a sense, right? Like it'd probably be like some describing like, oh, he cut his head off. Like I don't think he'd be like describing the actual actions. I haven't seen any research done on that, but I know there's a lot of people that have done a lot more research than I have, and a lot of people that do research into that ancient English like accounts and stuff like that, and there hasn't been any accounts of like them describing those actions and certain things like that.
I'm scarlet. Are you exhausted?
No, I can
It's
probably
not
get
humid
about
today.
it. I could use some water.
Yeah, we'll get some water. We have one of those. I can also fill a bigger one. Yeah, I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
do
but
like,
you like
something like
accounts?
seven exchange.
But it's usually like sustained like small cut to the left side of the back, died before medical attention. Or like small cut to the inside of the thigh, died before medical attention. Like stuff like that, like died before medical attention. Just basically the method of death rather than the strength. It would be nice if there was more that ways.
Icebreaker next year.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of tournaments. I get way too much anxiety in tournaments. Like zero anxiety for this, because it's a friendly setting. But tournaments, something about tournaments just gets me like, makes me just feel nauseous. It's just not worth it. I'm not doing too bad at like the local tournaments now, because I know everyone in them, you know, it's like it's a friendly setting again, but I don't know. And it's just like the thought of traveling.
No.
It's like traveling, and it's like, well, what if I'm nauseous the whole time and getting anxiety? And just,
And you gotta deal with the US healthcare system.
yeah.
Is there like powder in the water?
Yeah.
I was like,
And I filled this one up for you as well.
I usually don't need too much water, but I just keep the empty.